Dorado chapter of the DAR doing the ceremony today. First of all, we ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Welcome to all of you, and thank you for coming out on this very warm day. And to those of you who have come a long ways, welcome to Gold Country. Today is Flag Day, and it's no accident that we chose this day to have our marker placement on the Fausel house. The Daughters of the American Revolution are about all things patriotic. And so today is a great day to honor our flag. And it's also a great day to honor our pioneer family, the Fausels. I would like to introduce some honored guests. First of all, we have Mark Acuna, Mayor of Placerville, and he brings you a message.
Thank you very much. Excuse my casual appearance, but today is also the grand opening of the fair, and I was over at the steer judging earlier. It's an exciting week. I have a proclamation here from the City Council in our recognition for the efforts for the Daughters of the American Revolution to show our appreciation for what they've done, adding another plaque, another point of interest that will help extend the history tour throughout the city of Placerville. It's not only on Main Street, it's throughout our entire town. I'll just read very briefly the last three parts of this proclamation. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Placerville commemorating the historic Fausel House and celebrating the placement of the historic marker. Whereas the Fausel House is listed in the City of Placerville's Historic Resource Inventory, thereby recognizing the building and the site as a historic, cultural, and economic asset to the city. And whereas the El Dorado chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution will place an historic marker on the Fausel House in recognition of its significance to the history of Placerville on June 14, 2012. Now, therefore, I, Mark Acuna, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Placerville, State of California, do hereby recognize the Daughters of the American Revolution for their efforts in preserving significant historic buildings and structures throughout California and the United States. Thank you very much.
I would also like to acknowledge Patty Borelli. Patty is one of the councilmen, I believe, yes. And Wendy Natson, who is vice mayor. They're both right over here. I have some other honored guests here. We have state officers from our California State Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. First of all, I have Leslie Pfeiffer. She is our current state historian, and she brings you a message from Karen Gerard, our state regent. Next, I have Sally Holcomb. She's the corresponding secretary-elect. That is that she's going to have the duty for the next 2 years. Also, I have Gail Mooney. Gail will be the treasurer for the state for the next 2 years. And I have Sandy Orozco. She is the chaplain. She will be the chaplain for the state for the next 2 years. We also have Bev Moncrief here. She has served as District 2 director and so many other things, as well as Dallas Love right over there, and Dallas is the current District 2 director. Let me see. Now, we have some chapter members that I'd like to bring to your attention. First of all, I have Ellen Osborne, right there in her colonial dress. Ellen is a long-time museum volunteer. She really knows her way around these museums. She was able to find all the documentation that our National Society required to get this plaque in place. Every time they asked her a question, she was able to go for it. Ellen has also co-authored a walking tour of Placerville. And if you never even get to do the walking tour, if you just can read that, you will know more about Placerville history than most people. Thank you for doing that, Ellen. I also would like to recognize Margie Klein. I'm not sure she's out here, but this marker festivity took 3.5 years in the making for it to come to fruition. And this started under Margie 3.5 years ago. Wally Graham is right. Where's Wally? Wally is right there. And Wally set out to so many details today I can't even enumerate them. Thank you, Wally. Next, I want to honor the Fausel family. That's what this is all about today. They are they have a long-time presence in Placerville. They have been owners and operators of the Placerville hardware store, which is the oldest hardware store west of the Mississippi. And the saying goes around here, if you can't find it at the Placerville hardware store, it probably doesn't exist. And a little later, David Fausel will be David over there will be introducing his family and giving us some remembrances of this house. We hope he has a good memory about that. We're anxious to hear that. Next, I would like to pay tribute to Marilyn Ferguson and Mary Corey. Marilyn Ferguson is the director of the Fountain Tallman Museum, and Mary Corey is the director of the El Dorado Museum. And both of them were just so helpful when it came to corroboration and validation of everything that Ellen wrote to our National Society in order to find the Fausel house worthy of this marker. I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. They were so helpful in helping with our publicity. And not really last, but the Inova architects are the ones who are responsible for all of this. And Jeffrey is close by. Right there he is. And he has just been a jewel to work with. Every time I asked him to help me with something, he was right there to make it happen. He will have quite a bit to say about the professional building that you will all be able to tour a bit later. And I also want to thank Jim Carter of Carter Kelly. He is the one who came and placed this marker on the building, which is quite a secret until now, but we will get it. We will open it up for you to see very shortly. Now, I would like to call Leslie over to the microphone. She has a message from our California State Regent, Karen Gerard.
Thank you, Betty. Our State Regent, Karen Gerard, could not be here today due to another DAR commitment, and she requested that I extend her greetings and the best wishes of over 9,300 California daughters that placement of this historic marker at the Fausel House be recorded for all time in the history of Placerville. This is a proud day for the Daughters of the American Revolution to recognize this historic 1861 building known as the Fausel House. El Dorado chapter has served the Placerville community for nearly 35 years. Then as now, DAR is a nonprofit, non-political, women's service organization. Members trace their heritage to a man or woman who contributed to the American independence during the Revolutionary War. We continue to serve our communities through historic preservation projects supporting education, especially the study of American history, and patriotic activities. The Gerard administration's theme is, "The heritage of the past is the seed that brings forth the harvest of the future." It's important that we instill this remembrance to our children and their children. We do this through our stories, the fabric of our heritage. This marker tells an important story. From this day forward, those pausing to read this plaque will know the history of this place. They will know that this place matters. Perhaps they will be spurred to study further. Preservation of the past is truly our gift to the future generations. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And now, I would like to read a dedication to the marker, this house. This house was built by German pioneer Frederick Giebenheim, and it was built from timbers right off these hills. You can see that they have grown back now, but there was a time when there weren't any trees left on those hills. And the wagons, all the materials for this home were brought to this site by wagons pulled by horses. And they most likely were driven right down Main Street, which was destined to become Highway 50. And I wanted to tell you that the bricks on this house were no doubt made right here in Placerville. I am told there were at least 6 brick makers in the area at that time. And of course, by that time, we were milling. By that time, the mills were beginning to work to provide wood, and of course the brick makers were busy making bricks. Mr. Giebenheim, the pioneer, built a brewery right over behind the Buttercup pantry. Evidence of the stonework remains there today. In 1902, his daughter, Mary, married Emil Fausel. They raised their family in this house. Their legacy lives on. Members of the Fausel house still make their home here and own the Placerville hardware store, oldest hardware store west of the Mississippi. To place a historic marker on this house fulfills the mission of Daughters of the American Revolution and is an example of preserving the past and enhancing the future, enhancing the present. It is hoped that the words on this plaque will inspire young and old to dig deeper into Placerville's rich history. El Dorado chapter of National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution is pleased and proud on behalf of our community, Jeffrey Lubinko, to present this marker on the Fausel house to a Nova Nexus.
Would you like it revealed?
Yes, please. Jeffrey, do you have a few words for us?
For so many years, this site sat undevelopable because of where the house was in proximity to the hillside behind us. And it took quite a creative effort by Nova Architects to realize the potential of this site. When you step back into the courtyard behind us, you'll see a rectangular outline cast into the concrete. That was the location of the original house before we had it moved prior to the reconstruction. And as you step into the lobby, please notice on the wall to the right-hand side the historic images that we have that pay tribute to this site as it once stood back in its glory days.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And you will see on your program the words of the marker, and that you can view it for yourself up close in a few minutes. Now, I would like to ask David Fausel to come forward and give us a few remembrances of his childhood.
Thank you. It's very nice, this presentation. It's the house is a good remembrance of our history from 1860, when this town didn't have sirens going up. The town has changed a lot since I was a little kid growing up here. Out alone since 1860. My great-grandfather, Frederick Giebenheim, actually built this house. He had a brewery in Mud Springs and El Dorado. In 1860, he moved here. And this was a hustling, this was a place of business. This was the beer business was a big thing in 1860 through, 1920. Prohibition closed it in 1920. I grew up here. My grandmother lived in this house. I was probably 10 years old when my grandmother passed away. But I stayed in this house with my grandmother and fed the birds out the back door. And in those days, the Sterling Lumber Company was right there, and this was a little alley up the street. And before that, the Fausel, the Giebenheim barn was where the Bank of America is. That was a barn. The old stone warehouse up here was a flour shop, or a flour mill where they actually made flour. And slowly things just changed. This town has grown a lot. And even though we may consider it a small town, it's it's come into the future pretty well. But the old house here still remains, and I don't know, I played a lot. The old brewery was right here to the left. The brewery was only about 20 feet off to the left of this building, and it was 5 times the size of this brick house. And a lot of the old pictures that were referred to in the office in here show my great uncles, and in the way it really used to be back then. So I remember sitting on this old wall and running around this wall, and the cherry trees in front of the wall, picking the cherries, and it was a great place to grow up. My Uncle George lived in it for a long time. My Uncle George didn't want anybody to touch this house. He thought, he prized this house, he prized this place. Then it became, he passed away, and it became rather hard to do anything with it. And finally Inova has, done something and created it and probably preserved it forever. So that's very nice. Yeah. My family's sitting right down there. My daughter with her daughter, and my grandson's right next to her, my wife, and my son Albert, who actually runs a hardware store for me now, is right there. So we'll be here a while, and hopefully we'll be here a while longer. Thank you.
Now, David, would you be prepared to kind of guide people through this old house if they would just like to walk through, and you could tell them where things were? Great. All right. There are tours of the house and the Nova professional buildings will take place now, and there will be refreshments inside whenever you're ready. So David's going to kind of take people through the house, and Jeffrey will be showing you through the new professional building. So thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah, these bricks were made here locally in Placerville. They were made, at that time they were saying that there were 6 different brick masons in the city of Placerville.
I'm up, Mom!
And of course, looking across the doorway, you're looking at the actual placerite that Placerville is named after. Hand chiseled. You can see that's hand chiseled. They didn't have the big saws like they do today, so you're seeing the chiseling marks that have a lot of history. It was an attic where they had furniture, storage.
You couldn't stand up like this. It was a lot shorter up here.
Right.
So now you can actually stand up here and move around. Up here before it was like to crawl out the window to go unclog the chimney or something. But yeah.
They did a beautiful job. A lot of work. Yeah,
White
they did.
was.
Looks good. It looks great.
God,
Great, because somebody
so
could have
much
a
new lumber up here.
yes.
So much new lumber.
Well, we did a new roof.
Because
They
it
did
was
a
all
great job.
shake roof. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the original shake roof.
Those, oh my gosh.
But there was a lot of old stuff up here still left from all our family.
Yeah, they did a good job. Really nice job. They modernized it enough to have heating and air
It's dirty and
conditioning.
it's not going to fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
You
really
don't
nice.
feel uncomfortable climbing
No.
these stairs.
Well, I remember getting up on the roof and, fixing
How
the roof
in
and
the world did they
cleaning out the
move?
chimney.
Oh yeah, that's what I miss is the visual of the chimney going up through the middle from downstairs up here also. The chimney was here from downstairs. Yeah.
Were you here when they moved the house?
We watched it. We watched them
watched it,
slowly move. We could hardly tell it was moving. It was amazing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
slow.
Now these windows here, they popped this out going this way because it did not have those windows, but it raised the ceiling to come in because you came in close to the
But
sidewall.
those are the original rails there? No, those are the ones we put in. Oh.
Right. The original dowling that was on this house when we redid it they weren't up to code. So those are out on my historic gazebo out at our ranch that brides get married at now.
That's just the marks on the plaster where the old stairway went.
Oh, I see.
Just, they framed it over.
That's the original plaster?
That's the original plaster. Yeah, it was plastered. It wasn't framed like this.
This is where you lived up here?
Yeah, I have this room right
He
here.
was the last Fausel to live in the house.
This room, this section, or that section?
This section, because there's a little narrow hallway that came out to the front door. There's a door right here. There's a door right there, and a door right there, and the center divide. There's a room here and there. And then the staircases came right up here.
So it sure changed around quite a bit, hasn't it?
Big time, yeah. That window was still there though. But the roof was taller right here too. It was a big ceiling. It wasn't.
So they can kind of keep cool.
Yeah, a lot taller ceiling. Summertime. And we had the little fireplace right here. But yeah, fireplace right there.
Family room.
Stuff we still have left. That big shovel we still have. Probably even those cakes too.
Yeah, we have some cakes up there that David, yeah, very, very, very partial to. Thank you. Yeah.
And that was so nice of you to bring her chairs.